and welcome to the Clearly Essential monthly team webinar for business training. Thanks for joining us. I'm Crystal Garvin, for those of you who haven't met, and we have a very special guest today. I'm really excited about our special speaker this month. Tanya Cotterell is joining us all the way from Montana, and I'm in Texas. As most of you know, I'm traveling, and I love technology that we can meet together and train together this way. Tanya, for those who don't know, is our Blue Diamond, and she is my enroller and also my best friend from childhood. Growing up, we've known each other since we were 4 years old, and I'm really excited about today's topic because since we've known each other a long time, we've seen each other work through some fears and obstacles in our lives, and I know that she has recently been on a journey of overcoming fears to a different level, and I know that all of us have to do that at different phases in our lives, but it's been exciting and fun to see her grow through that process. I'm excited for her to share that with you. So welcome, Tanya.
Hi, everyone. Yes, thank you for inviting me.
Oh, yeah, we're so excited that you could do this. We always love to hear from Tanya. Those of you who haven't had the pleasure of hearing from her live, you've really missed out on our local triad trainings or other places she's been across the country, but I'm glad we can share her with everybody this way, and this is a topic I know is near and dear to your heart and has been a real personal journey for you, so I'm excited for you to share with us all that it means to you. I'm going to go ahead and open up your...
Sounds great. I'm excited. Okay,
all right,
are we ready?
My webcam so everybody can see the slides bigger. Thanks for saying hi.
Okay.
Your face. It's always nice for people to see you. And I'm going to turn mine off, and I'm just going to turn it over to you.
Okay, let me get mine off here too. Okay, there we go. Well, I am really excited to share this with you. This is a really special topic to me. And like Crystal said, it is something that I have been working through personally this season in my life and through my own doTERRA journey, and especially in the last year. It's really become apparent to me that the idea of courage is so foundational to having a successful business, and really not even just a business, but just in having a successful life, in just living life to its fullest. I am realizing how much fear holds us all back, and more now than ever am I seeing areas where fear has held me back in the past. And as I've chosen to push through obstacles of fear, it has helped me to see huge potential in what can be accomplished and what amazing things can be experienced in life. And so because that has been a profoundly impacting process for me that I'm still in, I am very passionate about sharing that with others, and especially with our doTERRA team, because I have the privilege now that my team has grown of working with people and watching other people's journey and watching what happens when they learn to weed out the weeds of fear in their life and choose courage, and amazing things happen when we do that. So I would like to start with just asking you this question. What would you do if you weren't afraid? And I want to ask you to be really honest with yourself. It's sometimes hard to say out loud to people because then we feel like we're committing to do something scary. But can you just start in a place of answering this question for yourself? If you weren't afraid, what would you do? Could you make a list of things that you would do? And then let's dial that in specifically to your doTERRA business, and maybe even specifically the vision you have for what your business could become and how it could make an impact in the world, how you could make an impact in the world. If fear wasn't present, what could you do? That's an important question that I hope you'll take some time to reflect on and to ask. Let's go ahead and move on to the next slide, Crystal. There we go. Okay, so this is an image. I'm a very visual person, so I found this picture to really reflect a picture that I have in my own head that began early on in my business 3 years ago. In the fall of 2012, I was brand new to doTERRA. I had hit elite pretty quickly just with some casual sharing and some classes I did over the summer because I was pretty excited about the oils. And in my mind, I thought, wow, maybe I could make an extra $1,000 a month. Wouldn't that be something? And I saw the potential of what that could do in our lives in easing some of our financial strain. And so I had looking back now, I see that was a very small vision. And maybe you're in a place where an extra $1,000 a month seems like a huge impact. And I know $1,000 a month can be a huge impact, and it was for us. But my vision became much bigger because I realized that, yes, that is very doable in doTERRA, but I could do so much more, and the opportunity was there to do so much more. So I found myself in a place in September of 2012 where I began to see the full picture and potential of the doTERRA business opportunity. And I realized it was coming into my life with the potential of doing something massive for myself, for our family, and even bigger and beyond in how I could have an impact on others as well. And I found myself at this crossroads of wanting it and feeling drawn to it, but having a lot of what I would have called at the time a lot of obstacles, a lot of circumstances that got in the way. And now I can identify those things as fear obstacles. At the time, I didn't necessarily see them as fear obstacles. I thought, this is just my life circumstance. I have this issue. You know, I have 4 kids that need me, and I'm committed to them. I'm already working part-time, and I can't take on anything more. And I saw all the things that made it challenging and what seemed impossible at the time. But yet, here was this opportunity knocking, and I had a hard time dismissing it as just something that came that I was to take a pass on because I realized it was powerful and it could make a big impact, and I really didn't see anything like it that would come along again. And I was worried I would have regrets if I didn't give it my all. So it was kind of a place of inner conflict, and I actually really came to this place of inner conflict at our global convention, my first time that I went, and I realized I wanted to make it work. And I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I realized that it was worth figuring out a way to make it work in my life. And so that was when I made that internal commitment. I'm going to make this work, whatever it takes. And then the fear set in. And when I came home from that, and I started actually working my business and trying to figure out how to fit it in into my life, and I dealt with the reality of the challenges, I was able to figure out how to make it happen, but it wasn't easy, and those obstacles were continuing to come along my path, and they were all rooted in fear. Even though I couldn't really see that it was a fear issue, I thought it was just, circumstances, the reality of my situation, and you probably have situations that are different that are legitimately challenging and can make this opportunity seem like it won't fit and it's not possible. But if we can get in there and dig out the fear and push through, I promise you'll be amazed at what you can do. So this picture here is a giant boulder sitting in the middle of the road. And this was something that I just developed in my own mind during this process. I pictured a road, and I pictured this huge boulder in the way every time I felt like there was something I couldn't push through. There was an obstacle in my way, and there was discomfort and fear, and I really felt like I was avoiding one aspect or another of pushing forward in my business. So if I felt like there was someone I really needed to invite to a class that I felt prompted to, and deep down inside I knew, hey, if I can't reach out to anyone and everyone, and I'm going to have to screen and go, oh, not that person, then I'm letting fear dictate this, and I really don't think I'm going to make it to the other side of this journey because I'm only willing to do what isn't scary. And so I started to recognize that those very things that I needed to do most for my business were the things I was the most afraid of. Excuse me. And those were like a big boulder sitting in my path. It's tempting to try to figure out how to build our business sitting right where we are and not pushing past that boulder. It's tempting to figure out, is there a way around the boulder? Is there a way to bypass it, to take another road around? And there just really isn't. If you want to get to the other side where success lies, you have to figure out how to push through that boulder. And that's what I had to learn. And it's not an easy process, but it started working for me, because every time I would feel like I was avoiding something, some task that I needed to do, like I knew I had some new people that I really needed to start talking to them about the business opportunity, or I really needed to do a getting started training, and we didn't know what we were doing. My enroller and her enroller were brand new too. There was not all these resources and tear sheets and stuff out there at the time. We were kind of on our own to create things, and so that was intimidating. So when something like that would come along, okay, if I'm going to move my business forward, I need to plan an event, and I need to learn how to teach classes, or I need to learn how to do a training, or here's a big one. In Crystal, actually, when 6 months into my business, she wanted to do a class, and she was clear across the nation, and I couldn't just fly. I didn't have the finances to just fly over there and do it, and so we had to figure out how to do a webinar, and neither of us were equipped to do that, and I had no idea. I did not know technology very well, never had done it, and it was very intimidating to me to figure out the technology and get myself on a camera and teach a class, and I was so worried things would go wrong, and it was very tempting to not do that. But this was one of the examples of where there's a boulder sitting in the road, and I had a choice. So this is what the boulder means. I call it the fear rock, okay? It's the fear rock, and I would see that fear rock in my mind, and I would have a choice. I'm either going to stay here and avoid the rock, and this is as far as my business is going to go, or I'm going to figure out how to push the rock off the road and keep going. And there is no in-between choice. There's one or the other. And every time I would ask myself this question, is this where I stop? Is this the rock that's going to be my end point? Is this the one thing that I'm going to be too afraid to do? And 10 years from now, I'm going to look back and go, you know, I started that doTERRA business, and I really could have done something big with it, but I never really got it off the ground. I never really took it where I could have taken it, because there was that one rock sitting in my road. There was that one thing that I just didn't feel comfortable doing. And so I just sort of got stuck there, and I didn't move past it. And every time I would ask myself that question, is this where I stop? The answer was most definitely no, absolutely not, because my purpose and my reason why was so much bigger than the rock. And I knew I had to push it out of the way. And so I would figure out what to do and work through that fear and then just do it. And what I found were those things that were really hard and really scary became a lot more simple, and that rock just got smaller and smaller until it was nothing to contend with. So the next time a rock would come along, it would feel just as intimidating, but I would again ask myself that question, is this where I stop? Is this the rock that's going to get in my way? And the answer would be no, and I would push myself through that. So that's my visual on that, and if we could just go on to the next picture here. This is another way to look at it. You've got two buttons. So before we do this process, I want you to think about something right now that you know when you think about, you kind of get a little bit of a nervous feeling in your stomach, but you know it's something that is what is needed to move your business forward. But you've been too nervous to do it, too scared to do it, or you've got a whole laundry list of reasons why it doesn't work for you to do that. I want you to think of that one thing. And then I want you to picture that as your fear rock in the road. And you cannot get to your goal or your why unless you figure out how to get that rock out of the way. Now I want you to picture these two buttons here. You've got this gray button and this pinkish red button, okay? Go ahead and go to the next slide, Crystal. Here's the two choices. So these are buttons that you can choose, like you're on a game show, okay? You get to choose the gray button or the pink button. You can avoid the rock, or you can move towards your destination. You can't have both. You can keep flipping the slides. You can't have both. One, avoiding the rock is your comfort. That's choosing comfort. Choosing the other button is moving towards your destination, and that is choosing your destiny. So really, those are the two choices you have. You have the comfort button, and you have the destiny button. So every time you have something uncomfortable, challenging, frightening, outside of your skill set, outside of what seems to be a natural fit in your life circumstances, but it's what you need to do for your business, every time I want you to think of these two buttons. I have a comfort button, and I have the destiny button. Am I going to push the comfort button, or am I going to push the destiny button? Here's the thing with those buttons. They can't both be pushed at the same time. You have to push one or the other. There's no third button. There's no third choice there. So you can keep going on the slides, Crystal. You can't have both. And if you're sitting in a place right now where you're trying to push the comfort button and still think you're going to get to your destiny, you're still going to see your goals come true, the reality is that you won't. And I'm hoping by you listening to this today that you can come away with that realization, because it might be a hard pill to swallow, but it's the truth. You can't have both. And so I don't want you to go down this journey thinking that you can do it in a comfortable way that doesn't push you outside of your comfort zone and still meet your goals. Because what that's going to end with is a lot of disappointment and resentment and a lot of regret. And I don't want to see any of you have that. So is it worth pushing the red button? Is it worth choosing your destiny? All right, let's move forward. Miracles start to happen when you give as much energy to your dreams as you do to your fears. How much mental energy are you giving to your fears? How much emotional energy are you giving to your fears? What if you said no more to that? What if you said no more? I'm not going to feed into my fears. Every time I feel tempted to give some emotional energy into my fears, when I think about, I don't know if I could teach a class, or I couldn't talk to that person, or whatever it is, I couldn't set up a vendor show booth. That's a lot of work, and what would I say to people? And it could be intimidating. Whatever it is, how much emotional energy do you put into avoiding that? What if you flipped it and you put that into your dreams, and you put that into moving that rock off of the road? Okay, let's keep going. I'm going to give you an example. Well, you've seen this picture probably a million times, but I had to put it in here because it's just absolutely true. You won't see the magic happen if you're inside of your comfort zone. So I'm going to give you an example of my fear rock and my why, and how those interact. And you can insert your own fear rock and your own why into that. So when I started my business and I decided to do this, one of my biggest fears, I probably would have been slow to admit, but one of my biggest fears was what people would think of me. So I had a really hard time initiating conversations and inviting people. I was worried about what people would think about me being involved in the multi-level marketing. That was huge for me. I was so phobic of that. And I had all these negative associations with that, and I assumed everyone else did too. And I honestly worried people would think I was trying to get their money. I worried that people would think I was just in it for myself, that I didn't really care about them. I worried that it would make them uncomfortable. I worried it would make them feel obligated to buy stuff from me that they didn't really want. Of course, all of that has been dispelled as I've realized that I'm asking people to consider buying something that they really do want. And I don't ever want anyone to spend money unless it's what they want. And the truth is, people do want our oils once they learn about them. So I learned to get rid of those things, but I still have always battled that feeling of fear of what people would think. And that probably would have stopped me if I didn't have a strong enough why. My why has grown and expanded, and it's much broader than this now. But initially, my why was I could save money for my kids' future, and if they want to go to college, be able to provide them with that. I felt we were behind in what we had intended to save for them. We had had a few setbacks business-wise, career-wise, and we were doing okay, but we weren't prepared enough for the future. And my husband and I, our personality types are the type to be prepared, and so it stressed me out, and I wanted to give that to them. And I used to think about, when I first started my business, I would think about my kids, and especially my oldest, because she was going to become 18 before the rest of them. And I would think about how many years I had left, and it was going quickly. And I would think about having to sit down and tell her, we don't really have anything for you. We don't have, we wanted to save for you, and we weren't able to, and you're on your own. And I know that kids can make it on their own, but I also know the statistics of college debt, student loans, and how crippling it can be for life. And I didn't want to saddle my kids with that. And it was one thing to think about telling my kids I didn't have anything for them if I really honestly had tried and I didn't have the opportunity. But now I was wrestling with the fact that I knew I had the opportunity, and I knew I could provide that if I didn't let fear get in my way. And I couldn't live with the idea of telling my kids I don't have anything for you to launch yourself out in the world with. You're on your own, knowing in my heart that I had been given the opportunity to create that and build that for them, and I had taken a pass because I was scared. And that regret, that picture of regret, was haunting to me, and I couldn't dismiss it. And so my why became it became my driving force. And so every time I was afraid, it literally came down to choosing my comfort or choosing my kids and what I could give them as a mother. So my fear became bigger than the rock, my why became bigger than my fear, and that's what helped me push it out of the way. Okay, let's move forward. So here's a visual picture of bravery. I actually like this one even better than the comfort zone little circle diagram. See that little space in the middle? We can be scared and do nothing, or we can do stuff that's easy and not scary. None of those things have any magic to them. What really gets things done in our business is when we are doing the activities that require some bravery and courage, and that's where the overlap is. It's when you feel scared, but you do it anyway. Okay, let's keep pushing forward. And here, this is a very important definition to understand of courage. There's a lot of misunderstanding about fear and courage. So courage is not the absence of fear, but rather the judgment that something else is more important than fear. When your why is bigger than your fear, that you choose action, that is courage. So most people don't choose to do anything with courage because they are waiting for the emotional feelings of fear to dissipate before they take action. They're waiting to feel brave. They're waiting to feel unafraid. And they have that confused with the true definition of courage. Let me just tell you right now, if you're going to live your life with courage and you're going to build your business with courage, you're going to have to get used to the feeling of being afraid and accepting it and choosing to take action despite that feeling and to just push into it and lean into it and keep moving even when you want to retreat. So we'll just stay on this slide for a second. I have a little point I want to go over I don't have a slide for. This was interesting to me. I was having a conversation with a couple other business builders and my enroller, Melissa Morgner, a couple weeks ago. And we were talking about this issue of courage and mindset. And Melissa had said that she had just listened to this really great teaching that someone did, and I wish I had it cited here. I don't even have the information. But I wanted to talk about it because I think it's really cool. Whoever it was that was doing this, it wasn't a doTERRA thing. It was just a talk somebody was giving on courage, and they came at it from a psychological or a psychology background. And they had done some testing with people. When people would feel afraid, they broke these people into two groups, and they had them practice doing some positive affirmation exercises to see how that would change their ability to perform well. So when people would feel fear, and they specifically, I believe, focused on the fear of public speaking, and that was what this experiment was. They took half of the people and said, okay, when you start feeling afraid, you're going to repeat to yourself, I'm feeling calm, I'm calming down, I'm calming down, I'm calming down, to see if they could emotionally get calm to perform their public speaking task, or I don't know, it may have even been a sales presentation task, better. The second group, instead of having them say words of calming themselves down and fighting against that fear, they said to repeat the phrase, I am so excited, I am so excited, I am so excited. And what they found was that the people that would repeat the phrase, I am so excited, outperformed the other group dramatically. And with further studying, they are realizing that you have an adrenaline action when you're afraid. And instead of trying to shut that adrenaline reaction down, we can actually train ourselves to use that adrenaline reaction in a positive way to feed into our activity and our actions. And we can actually condition our mind to interpret the adrenaline drive as excitement instead of fear. And we can actually use it to fuel our activity. And I thought that was so interesting. And it just really speaks to, one, the power of verbal affirmation and speaking to ourselves, and two, feeling afraid and being okay with the feelings and taking action anyway and moving through it instead of trying to suppress that nervous feeling in your stomach. How about we start training our mind to interpret that as the feelings of excitement and anticipation to actually perform well. So take that as a tip when you're feeling nervous. Maybe you're going to go in and teach a class and you're feeling nervous. Start telling yourself, I'm so excited to teach this class. I'm so excited. And it is actually a psychological conditioning where we can use it to fuel really great performance instead of it being an obstacle we have to get by. Okay, so we're going to feel the fear. It's going to feel scary, and we're going to do it anyway. So remember this phrase, do it scared. What am I willing to do scared in my business? Okay, we're going to move on here. Oh, there it is. Feel the fear and do it anyway. Get used to the feeling and actually embrace the feeling as a positive thing. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, so I'm going to tell you this story. This is me in August, and I had a little skydiving adventure. And I put this in the slideshow here because this was a profoundly enormous learning experience for me, more so than I realized. So let me just briefly tell you why this occurred and what it did for me in my life. I'm terrified of heights. Not just emotionally scared. I get the physical symptoms of vertigo and anxiety, and I really honestly don't trust myself in high places because I do get dizzy and I feel like I'm going to fall or I feel almost out of control of my body. So I avoid them like the plague. But I had this really strange thought at the beginning of August about skydiving, and it was really random. I had this sort of thought about, wow, that would sure be a way to conquer some fear, and that would be cool if I were a person that could handle that kind of terror. And then I dismissed it as a silly daydream. And ironically, and I'm sure it was meant to be, but it just really hit me as strange that I had that random thought. And a week later, my niece, who is on my doTERRA team, she's one of our golds on our team, text messaged me, and she said, guess what? I decided I'm going to go skydiving because she had gone through some really difficult life circumstances and had to really rise above and live step out in courage in a lot of ways just to survive the circumstances she was in. She had found herself in a situation of being a single mom suddenly, and she had to be there for her son, and she had to really figure out, how am I going to support myself and my son, and how am I going to not let this destroy me? And in the process, decided to build a doTERRA business and push through a lot of obstacles to do that. And so she had decided this summer to skydive. It was on her bucket list, and she felt like it was something that would be putting a stake in the ground and a mile marker for her life to just really claim some victory in her life and to claim courage in her life. And I was so proud of her. And I said, that is so awesome. I'm so proud of you. I would love to come and watch you. And then she said, I would love it if you would come and jump with me. And I just was terrified. And I said, I am so scared of heights. I really don't think I can physically handle it. At the same time thinking, well, this is weird, because I had this strange thought like within a week of that, and it kind of got my attention. And so, and of course she had to point out to me, Tanya, you're the one that's always telling us to push through our fears. And I had to really wrestle with that. And I thought, you know what? I do say that, and I'm no hypocrite. And if I really am going to live what I tell people to live, I need to practice what I preach, and maybe I should do this. And oh gosh, I went back and forth, and I finally just booked it. I just went online and booked it, and then the panic started in. And we had a 3-week wait from when we booked it until our actual scheduled jump. And so I had to process through a lot in those 3 weeks. A lot of fear, a lot of temptation to back out. But what it taught me was how to really, really physically and emotionally walk through that feeling of fear and that adrenaline. And I would have nights where I'd start to fall asleep, and then I would literally jolt out of bed with anxiety thinking about jumping out of this airplane. And but I knew through that process it was something I was supposed to do and I needed to do, and I needed to learn how to ultimately push through and choose action and choose to keep stepping forward in a decision I made, regardless of what kind of emotional and physical anxiety I was feeling. And so this is me 9,000 feet above ground. And honestly, as much as the fear was gripping me in those 3 weeks, it really didn't take a hold of me fully until I was in that plane and realized how small it was, and that it wasn't a matter of jumping from the door. It was, if you can see right by the red pants I'm wearing, between the plane and my leg, there's a bar coming out, and that bar goes out onto a little platform about 18 inches long, just a little rectangle. And we had to step out, and I had to be the first one to step out with my tandem jumper behind me onto that ledge and balance there. And my instructions were, put your head back, that's why my head is back, and don't touch anything, because they're so afraid that the jumper will freak out and grab something and it'll mess them up. So I could only hold my suspenders. So even though I'm attached to someone, it was a feeling of absolutely being outside of control. And so that's us balancing on that 18-inch little platform, 9,000 feet above, waiting. We had to wait there for about 20 seconds before it was time to jump. And it was absolutely terrifying. But this is the picture I have with me now in everything that I do, is feeling, it doesn't matter what level of fear, and still making myself move forward and move through it. So let's go to the next slide here. I think we just have a couple of slides of this is still being out on the platform. This is actually stepping out onto it. Okay, keep going. And then jumping. And this is awesome, because if you never take risks in life and you never push through that feeling of fear and move forward, you miss out on a spectacular view of what can happen in the world. So this is just a picture that reminds me that the view is spectacular when you're outside of your comfort zone, and it's always worth it. It's always worth it. Okay, let's keep going. And then this is on the ground. This is my niece, Alicia, and I. That feeling of victory when you have pushed through your fear is almost addicting. It's amazing. And you will experience this in your business when you choose to push through your fear and you teach your first class, or you start making those contacts and inviting people, or you start getting out there and giving out invitations and samples, or you call that person that you just have been afraid of what they would think, or you share with family members that you think they're going to think you're nuts, or you teach your first business training, or you speak at your first event. Whatever it is, when you get it done, it's an amazing feeling because you realize nothing's going to stop me. If I'm willing to face my fears, nothing's going to stop me. Okay, couple last things that we're going to talk about before we go. Let's go ahead and keep pushing forward on the slideshow. Making a big life change is pretty scary, but you know what's even scarier? Regret. Now that really was something that I kept in mind, and I still do. I don't want to have regret. That's terrifying to me. So put yourself 10 years from now. I want you to put yourself in your mind 10 years from now. Are you going to feel victory when you think about your doTERRA business? Or are you going to feel regret because you didn't do what you had the opportunity to do and you were too scared? Answer that question honestly for yourself. It's more important than anything that we talk about in our business is, are you going to have regret? In the years to come, are you going to have regret, or are you going to have victory and satisfaction and feel empowered to empower others? Okay. There's 8 things. Oh, sorry, I forgot about this slide. One day you will wake up and there won't be any time to do the things you've always wanted. Do it now. And this is so true. We get trapped in the illusion that we have plenty of time. We get trapped in the illusion on a daily basis that today's not a good day. I haven't had time. I've got to focus on this first. Maybe even you're thinking, we're getting into the holidays. It's not a good time. January 1st, I'm really going to hit it hard. Listen, if you let yourself think that today, you will think that every day of your business and you will never get it done. So what are you going to do today? What will you do today? What will you do tomorrow? What will you get done this week? You should have goals set for yourself every day and every week. And if you're not doing those little goals, then you're not moving forward and you're not taking steps forward, and you're not going to just sit there in one place and procrastinate and then pick it up someday and make it work. If you're not moving forward, you're moving backwards. So really, the question that is more important than anything is, what am I going to do today? And it doesn't take a ton of time as long as we are consistent and determined to use our time wisely. If you just take an hour today, what are you going to get done? What are you going to do for an hour? What are you going to do tomorrow? And are you going to wait? Because if you keep waiting, you will run out of time. Time is moving forward. Okay, let's keep moving to the 8 things to give up. These are just some tips I'm going to add on to this training. Doubting yourself, negative thinking, fear of failure, criticizing yourself and others, negative self-talk, procrastination, fear of success, which I will add in parentheses, imaginary parentheses. Fear of success is really a fear of failure. If you're afraid of success, most people don't even realize they are. You kind of have to dig deep to realize what your fear is. You might be fearing success and therefore sabotaging your chance at it. It's really about the fear of failing in a successful position. And then people-pleasing. That's a huge one. That was huge for me. Are you willing to give up people-pleasing? Are you willing to let some people think you're weird? Are you willing to have some people that, honestly, most of them are probably just casual acquaintances, and if somebody judges you for this, that you build something great for your family and you make an impact on other people, who cares? I know there's been some people along the way that have looked at me and gone, wow, she got into that oil thing, and I don't know, that's a little weird for me. I may have lost the respect of a few people because they misunderstood what I was doing. I just decided I was okay with that. And for many years in my life, I wasn't okay with that with anyone, but I'm okay with that now. Somebody once told me to dare to live my life in a way that dares to be misunderstood. So are you willing to be misunderstood by people? I just want to challenge you to dare to be misunderstood and to give up people-pleasing. Some of you are thinking, I'm just not a brave person. It's not in my personality. Maybe I can't do this. I think we've got a slide for this if you want to move forward. Everything you've ever wanted is on the other side of fear. It's not about a personality. It's not about what personality you were born with. It's not about being an introvert or an extrovert. It's not about being a timid person or an outgoing person. So if you're listening to this today thinking, that's just not me, I'm just a timid person, I'm just not a very courageous person, and you're thinking, this is just the personality I was born with, this is how I was made, this is the card, these are the cards I was dealt, I just want to ask you to stop that track of thought right now, because you're not doing yourself any service. It's not based in truth. Courage is something that we all should aspire to. It's not a personality trait. And we don't get a free pass on that because of our personality. Anyone can choose courage. And everyone should choose courage because fear is a prison. And if you're allowing yourself to live in fear and you're allowing your life to be governed by fear and you're using personality as an excuse for that, then you are choosing to live in a prison and to limit yourself and your impact on the people around you. Keep this in mind. Anything that you want to accomplish in life, fear is going to get in the way. It's always on the other side of fear. It's never on this side of the rock. It's never on this side of the boulder. So we've got to get to the other side if we want to see those things happen. Okay, let's keep going to the next one. Courage is a choice. It's not something some people are born with and some people aren't. It's not something that your parents developed in you. Regardless of your background and the personality you're given, it is a choice, and we are all responsible for our choices. So will you choose courage or will you not choose courage? Will you choose courage or fear? Will you choose comfort or will you choose destiny? Okay, I think we've got one last slide here. Get your brave on. So this is my challenge to you. If you've lived your life in a timid way, are you willing to say no more? Are you willing to rise up and say, I am going to claim courage in my life. I'm no longer going to let fear have its place in my life. I'm going to weed it out every time I see it pop its head up in front of me, every time I see a boulder in my path. I'm going to figure out a way to push it off. I'm going to go and get help. I'm going to talk to somebody. I'm going to say, listen, I'm really scared to do this, but I know I need to do it. Will you hold me accountable to doing it? Will you be brave enough to say that? Will you be brave enough to say, I'm not sure how I'm going to do this, but I'm going to figure out a way how, and then set your mind to doing it? I hope that you will. I hope that you will choose courage, and I know that your life will significantly impact the world around you if you choose courage. Let's
okay,
see
awesome.
now.
Thank you.
Are we done? Okay, there's Crystal. That's
yes,
what I have
here
today.
That is awesome. Thank you so much for your time and for pouring into us. This is amazing. I don't have anything to add. I just hope that people were taking notes and will really do some introspection now about how fear might be holding you back and whether you're going to let it stop you or push forward to your destiny. I hope that we will all look at the ways we can starve the fear instead of feeding it so that it won't grow.
Yes.
And grow our whys and white those down.
I would love to hear feedback if people make any decisions after they've heard this. Let Crystal know, let me know, put it out there, because you're just going to put light into that dark corner of your heart that maybe the fear has been lingering. So I hope that we can see a lot of breakthroughs.
Absolutely. I believe that we will. And I know that as we're making those calls, one point I really liked that I thought was practical as we're getting ready to make phone calls or do something scary, approach someone, teach a class, whatever it might be, that we'll tell ourselves some of those verbal affirmations and channel that energy, that, like you said, the adrenaline, use that adrenaline to fuel our activity, because people can sense the fear, they can hear it in your voice, and confidence can be seen and felt, and people recognize when there's confidence, and it sets them at ease too, so that they're more confident that they're going to want to participate with you in what you're doing. So I hope that you'll use that, find some things that help you get excited instead of feeding that fear right before you're going to do an event or a phone call or whatever it is that might scare you, because I do also want to see each one of us on our team experience the victory and not the regret as we look years down the road. And I want us also to get over the mentality that says, I'll do it next month. I'll overcome that fear next month, like Tanya said on January 1st. And let's do it today. Let's overcome next month's mentality and teach ourselves those daily disciplines and overcome our fears a little bit at a time, and give up the things that Tanya talked about, those 8 things. I think if we examine ourselves, we can all find something in that list, and maybe some of you have some work to do in all 8 areas, and that's okay. Like Tanya said, you can learn courage. You can teach that to yourself. You can get out of that prison of fear, and your business will grow as you grow personally. And honestly, your paycheck will grow as your belief grows. And so examining that and seeing where you're at, and that is always a good idea. And you all know I'm a big proponent of personal development books, reading, audiobooks, however it is. You can get some great training online from webinars and things too, of course. But if you're looking for some further fuel for this and want to dig a little bit deeper, there's actually a book. There's one of the slides that Tanya showed. It said, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. That's actually the name of a book by Susan Jeffries, and that would be a great book to help you overcome and learn how to break down that fear and get over that obstacle. Most of you have probably heard me recommend Dare to Dream, Work to Win by Tom Barrett. But our team has grown exponentially this year, so maybe that hasn't gotten passed down to everyone. It is well worth the read, and he addresses a lot of the things Tanya talked about, fear of what people might think, and especially related to network marketing. And then one last book.
Negative talk.
Oh, yeah.
He talks a lot about negative talk.
Yes,
So if you have a lot of negative
self-talk
going on, that's a great book for that.
Yes, it is. He does address that really well, how to overcome negativity and negative thinking and negative self-talk. And then one more, if you really struggle with rejection and you have that sense of failure every time you have a rejection and you feel like you can't pick up and move on. I know that's a very real issue for a lot of people. A book by John Maxwell called Sometimes You Win, Sometimes You Learn is a great book, because it shows you how a lot of times in the rejections or the times that we feel like we're not succeeding, we learn the most, and that helps us to move forward and be able to find that success, and that we actually succeed by being okay with little failures all along the way that we learn from and use as stepping stones toward our success. So it can help you overcome some of that fear as well, if it's the fear of rejection. So I hope that will help you all as well, and I will be looking forward to that feedback. I'll put a thread on our Facebook group for that if you want to share that, or if you're getting this via email and you're not on Facebook, feel free to email back to me some feedback and some things that you're changing and how you're going to tackle fear and overcome obstacles. And just thank you again, Tanya, for your time and for pouring this into us. I've loved seeing you overcome things and fears personally, and it has definitely inspired me to do the same in my life and my business. And I think we'll always find and discover new fears that we need to overcome. We don't ever finish this process, so don't feel badly if you think, oh, I've got so much work to do. We all do. And as we go forward, we realize that more things are revealed to us that we need to continue to overcome. And I don't think we fully ever step all the way out of our comfort zone. It just gets larger as we grow. Our comfort zone continues to enlarge as we realize we can overcome things and we can be okay with being uncomfortable. So I'm going to wrap that up now, and thank you so much again, Tanya, and for everyone listening, thank you for your time, and I will look forward to hearing how this impacts your life and your business. Are you still there?